Good morning, it's Frank. I wanted to speak on that, on what I talked about the other day on the crown of life and how we can examine ourselves. And so let's get started on that. Examine yourselves, and we'll start in 2 Corinthians 13, written by Paul. Examine yourselves to see if your faith is genuine. Test yourselves. Surely you know that Jesus Christ is among you. If not, you have failed the test of genuine faith. As you test yourselves, I hope you will recognize that we have not failed the test of apostolic authority. So Paul tells us to test ourselves. And so thinking about the crown of life, let's go into James 1:5 through 6 and 8 through 17. And I'm going to read that here real quick. If you need wisdom, ask our generous God, and he will give it to you. He will not rebuke you for asking, but when you ask him, be sure that your faith is in God alone. Do not waver, for a person with divided loyalty is as unsettled as the wave of the sea that is blown and tossed by the wind. Their loyalty is divided between God and the world, and they are unstable in everything they do. Believers who are poor have something to boast about, for God has honored them. And those who are rich should boast that God has humbled them. They will fade away like a little flower in the field. The hot sun rises and the grass withers. The little flower droops and falls, and its beauty fades away. In the same way, the rich will fade away with all of their achievements. God blesses those who patiently endure testing and temptation. Afterward, they will receive the crown of life that God has promised to those who love him. And remember, when you are being tempted, do not say, God is tempting me. God is never tempted to do wrong, and he never tempts anyone else. Temptation comes from our own desires, which entice us and drag us away. These desires give birth to sinful actions, and when sin is allowed to grow, it gives birth to death. So don't be misled, my dear brothers and sisters. Whatever is good and perfect gift is coming down to us from God our Father, who created all the lights in heavens. He never changes or casts a shifting shadow. So, as it says here that we will, to those who endure, we will be given the crown of life. And so you can think about it. So when I picture that, and I picture, living my life and enduring temptation and enduring, pain and anguish and grief and all those things that, that this world brings upon us. If you think about it, how hard sometimes it is to maintain our walk with God and do it humbly, right? And so, that's what it's talking about, where it says that the rich will fade away, and those who are poor can boast, because, it's not really talking about a money thing there, right? What it's talking about is an idea that when I see my poorness in spirit, it allows me to be humble enough to see that my need for Christ, right? And then when I have all of these accomplishments, let's say in church or wherever, and I'm checking off these accomplishments and stuff, and I feel very rich, then a lot of times pride and ego can take over in that moment, right? And so as that pride and ego takes over, from feeling like, I fed the homeless this day, and I did this on that day, and I did this on this day, and, I preached the word, and 10 got saved here or accepted Jesus Christ. And so those people that are poor in spirit and struggle a lot of times have a more genuine idea of their need of Christ in their life, right? And so, so if you think about the crown of life, the crown of life will be given to people who have stayed true to the course with Christ while being hit hard over and over again with adversity. Dealing with pain, anguish, grief, heartbreak, suffering, and sadness can be grueling, yet we know we can grow greater for God and become spiritually stronger through each adversity. Or give up, grumble, deny our Father, and sink in pits of pity where Satan belongs, or where Satan longs to see us, sink in sin far from the peaceful shore. through it all, the good, bad, and the ugly, we must hang in there. Walk by faith and focus on our good Father. Then we can look forward to receiving the crown that the Lord promised to those who love Him. So my thought on this is it's an opportunity. So when you take the rich in spirit and the poor in spirit, so when when you're going through these trials and adversities and you have this mental picture of appearing before Jesus at judgment, and He goes to give a crown of life, do you see, or like myself, do I see myself, Jesus walking over and putting a crown on my head, right? And so that's an opportunity in that moment of that picture that mental picture that I have, that I can kind of almost check my spirit in it, right? So if I see Jesus putting this crown on my life and on my head, and then I see me walking around kind of with this crown on, right? Like, hey, look what I achieved, right? That might tell me, it might be a little bit of a warning sign about where my heart is, right? I mean, because here, if you go over to Revelations 4:9-11, whenever the living beings give glory and honor and thanks to the one sitting on the throne, the one who lives forever and ever, the 24 elders fall down and worship the one sitting on the throne, the one who lives forever and ever. And they lay their crowns before the throne and say, "You are worthy, O Lord our God, to receive glory and honor, for you created all things, and they exist because you created what you pleased." And so, Jesus tells us not to, in Matthew 6:9-21, not to store up our treasures here on earth, where moths and rust eat them, but to store up our treasures in heaven. And there, wherever you store up your treasures, there where your heart be. And so, what I see, and it's funny, like the group casting crowns, that mental picture of an idea and a knowledge that when Christ walks over to me and goes to put a crown upon my head, right? If He sets it on my head, do I immediately grab it and throw it at His feet with an understanding that the only reason why I'm there is because of Him, right? It's not because of all of my, check the box good deeds that I did, right? Now, we are to do good deeds because of what He's done for us, not because that way I can get a crown and be richer than the believer standing next to me. Oh, I'm going to have much more treasure in heaven than he will. Look how much more I do, right? Again, it's an opportunity, like I said in 2 Corinthians 13:5, to test ourselves. So how do you picture yourself? I mean, do you see that when Jesus walks over with the crown of life, or even the crown of exaltation, or the crown of righteousness, which we'll talk about later on, do you see yourself and Jesus coming over and setting that crown on your head and you accepting it? Or do you see yourself, saying, "No, Lord, only because of you am I here. Only because of you do I even remotely have the opportunity for you to even walk over and see me." And so understand this, that any crown that I may receive in heaven is really the crown for Jesus, because it's only by Him is my life changed. So I just want to encourage you this morning, continue to look at ourselves, to continue to test ourselves, looking to see that whether we're humble, whether we're arrogant, whether our ego is full of pride, or do we really understand that the only reason why we have even a shot at eternity in heaven is because of what Jesus did on the cross, what He's done in our hearts, and what He continues to do in our lives, not because of anything we've done. God bless you. Have a great morning. Take care.